Welcome back to the swamp, little wanderer. If you've come here looking for light, you may find something better. Honestly. In this chapter, we invite you to let go of the performance. Let the glitter settle. Let the fog of confusion hold you while truth tiptoes in. Don't worry. You don't have to fix anything. Just listen. Just breathe. Just be. The air thickened, like old soup in a forgotten therapy fridge. Slow, dense, unsettling. A fog rolled over the swamp with the lethargy of a group text left on red. Every molecule moved with the weight of things unsaid. Glitter particles clung to the mist like emotional residue from a failed group retreat, refusing to fall, shimmering with passive-aggressive persistence that hummed in the background like leftover tension after a family holiday. Each breath taken with this air came with a subtle emotional side effect: regret, confusion, the memory of a compliment you didn't believe. The swamp didn't just breathe, it brooded. Its roots pulsed with unspoken conversations. Its petals reflected only partial truths. The air wasn't still, it was holding its breath. The Delusion Bunnies lined up with unnatural cheer, as if choreographed by emotional denial itself. Their posture was perfect, too perfect. Their ears stood unnaturally tall, like they'd been stapled into place during a workshop called Posture Your Way to Positivity. Their fur shimmered with filtered light, like they'd spent the morning exfoliating their trauma in rose quartz baths. Their eyes, unsettlingly wide, sparkled with a manic, intrusive brightness, the kind of shine that came not from hope, but from exhaustion masquerading as enthusiasm. It was the light of someone who'd said, "I'm fine," 3 times too many, and started to believe it out of pure survival. They stood in perfect rows, tails twitching to a rhythm only they could hear. Their smiles were stretched taut across their fuzzy faces, frozen in place like inspirational posters that refused to peel from the wall. Some twitched, some blinked too slowly. Some had eyes so wide it was unclear if they were awake or stuck in a motivational loop. Then, in eerie synchronicity, they began to sway. It started subtle, then grew, a hive-mind undulation of pastel fur. They hummed that cursed melody again, too major, too clean, too relentlessly optimistic. A tune that could only have been written by a gaslighting music box trying desperately to get its job back after being fired for emotional misconduct. The sound was not cheerful. It was oppressive in its sweetness, like being hugged by someone who never listens, like being gifted a scented candle when you've asked for space. Their song sang of sunlight without shadow, of gratitude without grief, of joy stripped of depth, and success sanitized of struggle. Their chorus did not uplift. It flattened. Their brightness didn't illuminate. It erased. One bunny opened its arms in exhalation, beaming, and declared, "There are no bad days," as if that were a spell to banish complexity. Another twirled, glitter trailing in its wake, chanting, "Your sadness is a choice." The swamp responded. It let out a groan so low it vibrated in the ribcage. It wasn't just sound, it was sentiment. It was the weary, mossy equivalent of a therapist taking off their glasses and saying, "Let's be honest for once." Vines drooped, fog condensed. Somewhere a melancholic frog sighed into the dusk. The lily pads quivered not from wind, but from collective second-hand embarrassment of witnessing unearned joy weaponized. Because the swamp, this swamp, had seen real things. It had cradled grief, absorbed breakdowns. It had held silence after screams, and rested moss against mourning. And it did not take kindly to performance. The Delusion Bunnies kept swaying. They didn't notice the swamp was watching. Mortikitten narrowed his eyes. His hourglass tummy ticked louder, each grain of stardust falling like a judgmental sigh from the universe. Time itself seemed to flinch. "Deploy the gloom team," he muttered, his voice an perfect mix of tired sarcasm and righteous spite. "Let's ruin some denial." The air shivered. The fog leaned in. Even the moss seemed to pause respectfully. And then the CareCats activated. Mortikitten stepped forward, moving with the slow, heavy grace of someone who has held sorrow too long and turned it into something sacred. He unleashed a Chrono-Sigh, a powerful, slow-motion exhale that warped time into a bubble of pure apathy. Sound dulled. Color faded. Several bunnies froze mid-hop and simply forgot what they were doing. One sat down and stared blankly at a mushroom for a solid minute before whispering, "Why do we bounce?" Another began questioning the concept of joy as a lifestyle brand, then started to blog about it. Sassburn snapped her tail, flames trailing like constellations of fire. Her insults emerged in glowing, flaming calligraphy, dancing across the mist like shooting stars with sharp tongues. Each word landed with a seismic emotional impact. Toxic positivity, unsolicited advice, vulnerability without consent, live, laugh, nope. Each word hissed into the air like a scented candle lit in spite. One bunny burst into glitter sobs. Another tried to respond with a self-affirmation mantra, but the mist swallowed the words and set the attempt gently aflame. Emotionally, it caught fire. Catatonic blinked, once, slowly. That was enough. A bunny caught in his line of sight dropped to the ground, eyes wide and whispering, "What is happiness but delayed dread?" Another walked into a puddle and just stood there, absorbing the idea of wetness as a metaphor. A third tried to hop away, but became fixated on its own reflection. It whispered, "I used to sparkle, didn't I?" Gloompurr sighed, the sound curling like smoke around the battlefield. He curled up into a burrito of melancholy and summoned the blanket of despair. It rolled forward, silent and soft, like the weight of a memory you didn't know still hurt. Half the bunnies slumped over, muttering things like, "I just need a moment," and "Can I opt out of existing today?" One lay fully down and stared at the clouds, trying to remember what it was like to feel awe without an existential tailspin. Anxietabby opened her pouch with trembling paws. From it swirled a cyclone of what-ifs, spectral butterflies of worry and static. They buzzed like overthinking at 3 a.m. One bunny ducked behind a stump, consumed by thoughts like, "What if my healing journey is performative?" And "What if no one likes my sparkle muffins?" Another tried to speak, but got tangled in 12 conflicting fears about boundaries and brunch invites. Grimlin let loose a scream so raw, so unfiltered, it bypassed words and tunneled straight into the soul. It was not angry. It was not loud. It was simply true. 3 bunnies screamed back their own truths, ripping through their facades. They sprinted into the swamp, tripping over affirmation flashcards, abandoning their color-coordinated tote bags. One sobbed, "I didn't ask to be this fluffy." Another started chewing its own glitter wand. A third yelled, "Tell my therapist I tried," before vanishing into the reeds. Glitterhoof's horn flickered. His perfect mane frizzed slightly. A tremor passed through his hooves. "You don't understand," he shouted, his voice cracking like a champagne flute in a breakup brunch. "If people feel sad, they might not manifest abundance. Have you seen my vibe spreadsheet?" Mortikitten raised one paw, calm, controlled. The clouds above trembled as she conjured a monsoon made entirely of rhyming regret. The raindrops fell in verse. Your pain is real. Let yourself feel. You're not a fix-it task. Behind that smile is just a mask. One bunny collapsed to its knees, clutching its glittery scarf like a relic from another life. Another wept, whispering, "Why is it so beautiful?" A third lay on its back, letting the words soak in like truth through silk. Sulk Shadow was always missed. His voice came from nowhere and everywhere, settling into the ears of the bunnies with the weight of uncomfortable truth. Maybe you're not helping. Maybe you're avoiding your own grief by trying to fix everyone else. One bunny stopped mid-hop, grew quiet, and without meaning to, developed a journal. It began to write, slowly, with a crayon labeled, "Emotions I Denied." Gloompurr floated through the fog, draped in sorrow like velvet. Flowers wilted poetically in her wake, sighing in grayscale. She paused beside a weeping bunny and said softly, "Beauty lives where sorrow breathes." The bunny blinked and painted a sad face on a leaf. It felt better. A nearby mushroom offered no comment, but glowed a little dimmer. Crankleclaw levitated several discarded affirmation signs. Slowly, deliberately, she rearranged the messages into a new pattern. Joy is real, but so is rage. The signs began to smolder gently, like burnt-out expectations. A bunny tried to fan the flames, then paused and simply watched them flicker. Sassburn twitched. Her fur bristled like uncaffeinated rage. She launched a beam of blistering sass. "This is why you have no friends, Kevin!" No one knew who Kevin was. That made it worse. Kevin wept in the distance. Or maybe everyone was Kevin. Cataclysm, vibrating with emotional compression, imploded into a glitter-black cloud of compressed feelings. Bunnies nearby fell to their knees. One declared it was taking a leave of absence. Another quietly asked the swamp if it had a therapist. A third whispered, "I think I need a nap and boundaries." Gutter Meow climbed a compost heap with the gravitas of a poet and yelled, "You don't need to be fixed to be worthy!" He hurled banana peels with uncanny precision. One bunny caught one mid-air and clutched it like a relic. The swamp stilled. The fog slowed. The battlefield shimmered with emotional upheaval. One bunny cried out, "I need to cry, but I don't know how." Another whispered, "Can someone hold space for me?" A third tore motivational stickers from its vest, revealing a t-shirt underneath that simply read, "Not fine, and that's fine." A fourth sat in the mud and breathed, just breathed, and kept breathing. Mortikitten stepped forward again, eyes glowing with a soft indigo fire. "Your light was never yours, Glitterhoof," he said, calm, honest. "It came from pretending nothing was wrong, but we own our shadows, and that makes us glow for real." He pressed his paw into the moss. A ripple surged outward, not loud, not bright, but deep, raw, real. It passed through every bunny, every leaf, every memory stuck in the soil, and something loosened. A tightness no one realized they had been carrying let go. Glitterhoof staggered back. His aura flickered. The pink around his horn faded. It didn't vanish. It softened, became real. The Delusion Bunnies froze, and then one raised a trembling paw. Is it okay to not be okay?" And all 13 CareCats answered in perfect, grim, glorious unison, "Yes." You've made it to the edge of reason. and returned with something deeper. Permission. You don't have to sparkle all the time. You don't have to bounce. You don't even have to make sense. The swamp holds you anyway. So let your thoughts settle like silt. Let your breath deepen like a still pond, and let the shadows remind you, you are not alone. You are never too much. You are not broken. You are just real. Good night, soft one. The swamp is still, and you are safe here.